Lovely. So yeah, just a nice laying down position just to start off with. And just start to engage with the breath, starting to feel the ground beneath you. Just noticing what's present in the body today. Any holding of tension in the jaw, in the shoulders, just letting it go. Starting to connect with the breath. Just regulating the breathing by bringing it to the stomach. Feeling the stomach expand on the inhale. Then gently retract on the exhale. Deep breaths, just relaxing into the ground, feeling the wonderful earth, a key component of the kapha dosha, whose season we're in. Just feel how it supports you. We often take this incredible force for granted. This element resides underneath us all through our day, but we rarely recognize its strength and its capability, its power. It's a different kind of power. It's a gentle power, it's a stable power. It's a forever holding, just holding everyone up. It's not a forceful power. It's gentle and reliable and stable. That's what the kapha dosha is like. So again, we're working with the kapha dosha today. Just keep connecting with those breaths. Just appreciating that restfulness, that softness that kapha brings. Today we're going to start working on the core area, starting to engage the digestive fire, the agni, which can be quite sluggish and slow this time of year. Bringing a little bit of heat into that area through some twists. And also we'll be working around the legs because we can get quite a lot of water retention from the kapha dosha. It can stagnate, our circulation can be disrupted during this season, or we might get a lot of water retention in the legs. So we'll be looking to just gently help remove that in this class today. Okay, so from the lying down position, you're going to shuffle your bum over to the left hand side of the mat and shuffle your chest and your body and your arms over to the right and your legs over to the right into a sort of banana shape or a crescent moon. So it will look, if you're not sure, it will look a little bit like this. And if it feels good, you can clasp the left wrist with your right hand, and you might want to place your left ankle over your right ankle. And you should start feeling a really nice stretch along the whole left side body. Just taking some really nice long deep breaths here. Starting to warm up this area. Pulling up into the armpit. Releasing in the side abdomen, the side chest. The side of the thigh and the calf. The fascial tissue that runs along this whole side body. Going to take quite a gentle, slow start. And then we're going to build up to a little bit more heat. And just appreciating this restfulness just now. Just letting go of the day. And then when you're ready, just starting to shuffle your bum to the right side of the mat. And the legs go towards the left, the arms and the chest towards the left. And you might clasp the right wrist with the left hand to just gently tug it over. You might pop the right ankle over the left ankle into this lovely banana pose, literally banana asana. Keeping both bum cheeks on the floor. Nice deep breaths here. So really lovely, strong stretch. Just noticing where the tension is today, what's going on for you. If for any reason you're not happy on your back today, or you are in your third trimester of pregnancy, you can do all these poses from seated. So this pose would literally just look like a nice side bend, like so. So keep breathing deeply in that pose. It's lovely. And then slowly and gently making your way back into the center. So you're still lying down. Bringing the feet, the soles of the feet to the floor, bending the knees. Then taking the right leg up into the air, holding the thigh with the hands. And just noticing any tension that resides in the back of the leg. Maybe taking the leg a bit closer if that feels good, or just leaving it where it is. And starting to make some circles with the ankles. So clockwise first, just releasing in this area. And then anti-clockwise. Maybe pulling the leg a little bit closer towards you. It's really releasing that leg. It's lovely. Now taking the right ankle just above the left knee into a sort of figure four position with the legs. And either staying here if that feels comfy, or you can maybe clasp the left thigh with the right hands and start to pull that figure four a little bit closer to the body, keeping the right knee staying out towards the right. Just warming up the external rotation in the hip. Just keep with the breath. Just starting to move around any water, any excess in the legs. At the same time, always appreciating the ground beneath you, the earth. Just a few more breaths there. Gently placing the foot back on the ground. And then lengthening the left leg. And starting to move the right knee towards the right hand side. We might just stay here. So we might hold the right knee with the right hand and just open the hip gently, just as a gentle hip opening warm up. Or we might even, if it's within our capacity and it feels good, we might even take the shin or the toe with the right hand, or just somewhere on the leg and straighten out the right leg towards the side. It doesn't have to reach the floor, it can just be sort of floating there. As long as you don't feel any kind of pain or tension. If you do, just bending the knee again, just bringing it back in. Just taking some deep breaths here, pushing the left bum cheek into the ground still. Really nice. And then folding back into the center, the knee is bent, and now we're taking that right knee over to the left. We're placing the right arm on the floor towards the right, and we're just coming into a really gentle twist. So you might take the left hand and just guide the right knee over. And again, it doesn't have to come anywhere near the floor, just wherever you get to that feels good. If you're pregnant, you want to take this as a bit more of a gentle twist, so not going too far at any point. Deep breaths here. And if you're pregnant and you don't like to lie on your back, the first pose that we did, you're taking as a straight leg forward fold. The second pose is a seated figure 4. And this one is just a seated twist. Then coming back into the center, we'll move on to the other leg. So right leg goes onto the ground, left leg comes up, maybe holding the thigh. Just noticing any tension first, seeing if you want to bring it a little bit closer to the body or if that feels uncomfortable. Starting to make rotations with the ankle. Clockwise to start with. Noticing this part of the body, anti-clockwise now. Something that an area that gets used a lot but not kind of looked after very often, the ankle area. A lot of water retention can reside here if we're on our feet all day, or if we've got a lot going on, or a lot of stagnation in the body. And then just pulling the leg a little bit closer towards you. Lovely. Just releasing a little bit of tension, bringing a little bit of warmth, a little bit of heat to that back leg. Now coming into the figure 4, so placing the left ankle just above the right knee on the right thigh, and either just staying here if that feels good, or taking the right thigh a little bit closer to the chest, maybe holding onto it with the hands. Deep breaths, coming back to that breath. Flexing the left foot. Really nice. It's warm, starting to warm up that hip area. Keeping the legs above the heart in all of these poses. Just starting to help with any of that water retention, any stagnation in the body and the legs. That's great. Taking the foot down to the ground, the right leg extends. The left knee starts to move towards the left, and maybe we help guide it with the left hand. Perhaps we move into a straightened leg on this side if that feels good, but keeping the right bum cheek on the floor. Perhaps you even have a belt that you can bring to use at this point by wrapping it around the foot and then taking the belt with the hands. That would also be a good way to do this pose. Again, if you're seated, you're just taking your legs out to the side at this point and folding forward gently to have a nice little warm up of this groin area of the hips. Then bringing the leg back up, bending the knee, bringing the left hand out towards the left side and starting to rotate the left knee towards the right side into that gentle twist, maybe guided with the right hand. And just keeping with that gentle breath here. Just going as far as you want to and that feels good today. Continuing to notice the ground beneath you and just appreciating its force and its presence. The ability to lay here and be held by it. The gravity, the force of gravity bringing you down, keeping you grounded. And then eventually coming back into the center. Lovely. And maybe just doing a little rotation with the knees, clockwise and anti-clockwise, just to warm up the lower back. Now, if it feels comfortable for you, you might start to bring a roll into the back, along the spine, which eventually might take you to a seated position. And if that doesn't feel comfy, just coming up to a seated position in whatever way feels the best for you. That's lovely. Okay. Now we're going to, if it's comfortable for you and if it feels okay, coming up onto the knees and just playing around with tucking the toes and sitting back on the toes. This can be a little bit stressful for the body if we're not used to this pose. So just really go easy. Maybe just come to here first and just play with putting a little bit more weight on it. We're just really stretching into the toes, something we also don't do very often. Just helping to alleviate any tension, any stagnation in the feet. Deep breaths. Lovely. Just a few more breaths here. This can be quite a lot if you're not used to this position. So just taking it nice and easy, coming out if you need to. And then eventually coming to a seated position, just on the feet as you would normally kneeling, or into another comfy seated position if this isn't comfortable for you. And we're going to do a little bit of kapha breathing. I'm not actually going to demo because it's something you shouldn't do if you're pregnant. So if you are pregnant, just taking some really nice, gentle, deep breaths here. I'll just talk you through it if you're not comfortable with it yet. So placing the hands on the stomach so we can feel where it's going. We're going to take a really sharp exhale after a gentle inhale. And then we're going to keep doing this. So the inhale will be passive, the exhale will be sharp. So it will be a little bit like so you're really noticing a noise on the exhale, but the inhale is passive. Now, you can try and do that 10 times. So the audible exhale will be 10 times, and then we're going to pause, and then another 10, pause, for just a nice deep inhale and exhale, and then another 10. So 3 times, so just in your own time, starting this breath practice. And this is a really lovely heating breath, which is really helpful at this time of year. It opens up the chest, it opens up the lungs, it gets everything moving in the body. It's very good for the digestion, the digestive fire, the agni, just awakening it, enlivening it. So yeah, in your own time, just practicing gentle inhale and then like so. Just bringing heat to the body. And you can go as fast as slow as you want. This tends to be a faster breath, but if you need to go slower, that's absolutely fine. So I'll just wait for you to do 3 rounds of 10. If you feel at any point any dizziness, just stop, take some deep breaths. Not something necessarily to do too much if you have headaches or high blood pressure. but 3 rounds is absolutely fine. Probably don't want to go over that in those situations. That's great, well done, that's lovely. And now we're just going to move into some shoulder rolls. So starting with a gentle roll of the shoulders. And maybe touching the shoulders with the hands and bringing it to the elbows. It's nice and gentle. And we can start bringing the spine and the breath into this. So as we move up and around and out, inhaling, moving the chest forward. And on the exhale, scooping the belly in, moving the elbows forward. Inhaling, straightening out, opening up through the chest, exhaling, scooping everything in. And just doing this at your own speed, to your own breath, in your own time. And eventually, maybe even extending the arms, if that feels good. Just warming up the core, warming up the chest, warming up the arms and the shoulders and the spine. That's lovely. Starting to come into a bit more of a heating element of the practice slowly. Then eventually coming back into the center. I'm going to tuck the toes again and use, come to the sort of the front of your mat like so. Tuck your toes and use the tuck to move up into a little squatting position, which will then take you up into a forward fold. So slowly taking the heels to the floor. Maybe the legs remain a little bit bent, or maybe we come up to a straight leg, but the hands are hanging above the floor. And just starting to feel into this forward fold, maybe swaying slightly from side to side. Again, just noticing any tension in the back of the legs. That's lovely. And then bringing the feet together. Inhaling, flat back, chest up. Exhaling, folding forward. And then inhaling, the bum moves and pushes back as we take a seat into our chair pose. Taking some deep breaths here, starting to engage the core in this pose. Hands come out in front of us. And just noticing where the balance is. So you want to be able to bring the toes off the floor. So more of the weight is going into the heel and the rest of the foot. A few more breaths here. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward, straighten the legs. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, we're coming into a plank position. So hands come to the floor, fingers splayed out nice and wide. Bums just gently tucked in, so you can see a sort of straight line forming along the body. If you've got anything wrong in the shoulders or vulnerabilities here, just come into a tabletop whenever I say a plank. Just staying here for just a few breaths, really engaging that core. Then taking the left knee down, bringing the right foot parallel to the left foot into a supported side plank, opening up the chest, bringing the right hand to the ceiling, this nice side plank position, and staying here or bringing the right foot off the ground into this balance. Staying here and taking some deep breaths, or seeing if the foot is available for you to catch behind the body as you bend the knee. If this is available to you, then just pulling back, pushing the foot back into the hand, just starting to engage and stretch the front of the thigh and the chest and the shoulder. If you're wobbling like I am, don't worry about it. A wobble is always good. Deep breaths here. Bringing the foot back into that supported plank. Moving the right hand onto the ground. Bringing the right knee down. Back into that full plank if you're capable and if it feels okay. And then right knee comes to the ground. Left foot comes parallel to the right foot. We're opening up into the other side of the body. The left hand goes towards the ceiling. And again, staying here, or taking that balance, bringing the left foot above the ground, staying here, or catching that left foot with the left hand behind the body. And pulling into that. Moving the energy around the body, generating some heat. Deep breaths. And then taking the leg down, the foot down, the hands down to the ground, the knees down to the ground. Coming back into one more plank. And then, I won't do this myself, but just instructing you into a cobra position. So maybe taking the knees down again, or if you want to, going fully down into sort of press up position. And then slowly moving the body down to the ground, keeping the elbows tucked into the body. So not like a press up where we put the elbows sideways, the elbows are tucked in. So this kind of position. And then when you're on your belly, pushing up so the chest rises off the floor, but the pelvis stays on the ground into that cobra position. Just staying here for a few breaths, opening up into the chest. If you're not able to do this for any reason, just coming into a nice cat position. So opening up in the chest in a tabletop position. Belly dropping to the floor. Deep breaths wherever you are. And then raising back onto the knees, back into that downward dog position. Lovely. Deep breaths here. Starting to really ground into the hands, into the fingers, pushing up and back into the hips, straightening the back legs, starting to move the heels towards the ground. Seeing a straight line emerge between the fingers and the bum. Deep breaths. Maybe walking the feet out slightly if that feels good. And coming into quick sort of core engaging practice. Bringing the right foot up and back on the inhale. Keeping the hips in line with the front of the mat. And on the exhale, scooping the knee towards the chest. Just holding here for a breath. Inhale, up and back with the right leg. On the exhale, scooping the knee to try and touch or come near to the left arm. Holding. Inhale, scoop the leg up. Exhale towards the chest again. And back into your downward dog. Same on the left side. So inhale, left leg up to the sky. Exhale, we scoop it toward the knee towards the chest. Hold it here. Inhale, up to the sky, keeping the hips in line. Exhale towards the right arm. Nice twist. Inhale, up and back with the left leg. Exhale towards the chest. Bringing some heat into the body. And back into the downward dog position. Starting to walk the hands back to meet the feet or come near to the feet. Bringing the feet together. Inhaling, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhaling up into that chair pose, pushing the bum back, putting more weight in the heels. And on the next inhale, opening up into the side. So right hand travels towards the back of the mat. So we're in a gentle little chair twist. The knees want to be parallel with each other still, so not kind of moving out to the side. So a few breaths here. Doing really well. Inhale and exhale, sweeping the hands through, sweeping the right leg forward into a lunge position. And just starting to just get settled in this position for a moment. Noticing where the knee is, making sure it's not traveling further than the ankle. Starting to straighten into the back leg. Keeping the hips squared to the front of the mat. Deep breaths. Now, if you've got a wall in front of you like I have, you might want to shuffle back a bit. Because we're going to travel forward slightly. So taking just a few practice steps where we will start to balance on the right foot. We're going to take Ardha Chandrasana. So, similar to the side planks we've just done. You might want to take a block at this point, and take your block in your hand. Inhale, exhale, left leg comes up from the floor. We're moving slightly sideways, so the hips are starting to turn outwards. And get your block and seeing if you can meet the floor with the block that's in the right hand. If you don't have a block, and you feel comfortable in this pose, you can just come down so your right hand is on the floor, and eventually it's looking something like this with the left hand towards the ceiling. The left leg up in the air into this Ardha Chandrasana, which is, similar to that shape we were making earlier with our side planks. A few more breaths here. You might gaze up at the hand, you might gaze down at the floor, whatever's best for you. If you drop and fall, that's absolutely fine. And then exhale back into that lunge position. Shuffle the back foot in slightly. Keep the front leg bent. And really want to now come back into a forward position with the hips. So the hips is in line with the front of the mat. Into a kind of warrior one leg. Now in this warrior one leg, if you're finding it really hard to bring the hips to a central position, just bring the right foot towards the right a little bit more. So you have a bit more space between the legs. When you feel grounded in this position, so the left foot is almost parallel with the side of the mat, but the toes are slightly pointed towards the left top corner of the mat. When you feel comfy here, clasping the hands behind your back, inhaling, opening the chest, and exhaling down into a humble warrior where your right shoulder might meet your right knee. Really lovely chest opener. Bringing that element of humbleness as we bow down to the earth. Something kapha is wonderful at. Lovely, humble presence. A few more breaths here. And then just bring the hands to the floor. I'll just move around so you can see me. And start moving the hands into the center of the mat. The feet become parallel with the front and back of the mat, so you're in a nice wide leg fold. Inhale, straighten the back. Exhale, starting to move and fold forward. Just taking a few breaths here. Elbows are slightly tucked in. Then taking the right hand into the center of the mat, and on the next exhale, twisting up and looking up at the left hand, which will come towards the ceiling into this gentle twist. That's great. Lots of twisting in the chest and the body today. It's relieving any water retention, engaging that core, that agni. Inhale and exhale, hand to the ground. Inhale, flat back. Place the hands on the hips. And on the next inhale, just slightly bending the knee as we come up to standing position. Hands come out wide beside us. Tuck the heels in to the body. And coming into a gentle goddess pose. So slowly bending the knees as the toes point out. Keeping the knees above the ankles as much as you can. And then scooping the right hand round and under the left arm. And either staying here in this kind of position or twisting round and clasping the palm of the other hand into this eagle arms pose. If you're comfortable here, bringing your arms up towards the face. And this should be a really nice stretch of the back chest area. Taking some nice deep breaths here. Really strong pose. So if you need to come out of it at any point, just straighten your legs slightly. Deep inhales and exhales. They say that you give with the front of your chest, your heart, but you receive with the back of your heart. So just opening this area up. Maybe there's a time, this softness in the environment, this gentleness, this slowness, to do more receiving at this time of year. Release the hands. Bring them, maybe just playing with the shoulders a second, some rotations. Bring the hands to the heart center, straightening the legs for a moment, just having a little break. And then we're going to slowly slide down via a pose that might be difficult if you've got knee issues, so maybe watch me first. So we're going into a skandasana on the right side. So come back into your goddess, and then either the pose is going to look like this. So we're moving into the right thigh, and the right heel can come off the ground. If you can keep it on the ground, that's amazing, but it could definitely come off. And then the left toe is just pointing up towards the ceiling, and eventually we have the hands to heart center like this. If that feels quite a lot, or you're not used to that transition, actually taking the hands to the floor first. So as we move towards the right, taking the hands to the floor, and then just supporting ourselves on the way down, then popping the toes up, and maybe just staying here, or seeing if you can make that balance. Just staying there for a couple of breaths. And slowly rotating into a low lunge. So coming round to the side of your mat where your leg is still bent. Flattening the left knee behind you into this nice low lunge. Placing the left hand on the ground. Inhaling up the right hand towards the ceiling. And either staying here or picking up that back foot, maybe putting a blanket under your knee if that's a lot for you, or just leaving it at this and not going any further. But if that feels okay, seeing if you can grab hold of the back foot with your right hand in this gentle twist and starting to pull it towards the body. Deep inhales and exhales here. That's lovely. Just releasing that, and then coming into a downward dog. So stepping back in whatever way is comfortable, pushing up and back into the hips to that lovely downward dog position. Finding a little bit of stillness here, a little bit of rest. And then starting to walk the hands back towards the feet. Feet come together. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into that chair position. And this time, the left hand goes out and back behind you. We come into this gentle chair twist again. Knees stay parallel with one another. Deep breaths here. And then on the next inhale, taking and swooping up and round, the left foot comes forward into that lunge position. And again, you might want a bit of space in front of you at this point. Getting settled into that lunge, just noticing where the hips are, noticing that the knee isn't traveling beyond the ankle, starting to straighten into the back leg, starting to push the back heel towards the ground, trying to keep the back heel parallel with the leg. Nice deep breaths. And then really gently and just in your own time and at your own speed, starting to move into an attempt at Ardha Chandrasana. So maybe getting a block again. Maybe starting with a few balancing poses, bringing the back leg up off the floor. Taking your block in your left hand, starting to see if you can find the ground with the block or with your left hand. Opening the hip, moving the right hand up into the ceiling. Deep breaths. A really, really good pose at engaging the core, but also bringing out that water retention, raising up the leg. And then stepping back, coming into that warrior one leg position. So the back foot, the back toes are starting to point towards the front right corner of the mat. The hips are squared to the front of the mat. Maybe we shuffle the left foot over to the left a little bit. Clasping the hands behind the body. Inhaling, opening the chest. And exhaling, folding forward into that humble warrior. The left shoulder comes towards the left knee. Just again, just bowing the head, bringing a sense of humbleness. Literally like we're bowing to the earth. That's lovely. A few more breaths here. Then letting the arms come to the ground. Just move so you can see me. And then starting to walk the hands into the center of the mat. Feet become parallel. Left hand grounds into the center of the mat. And right hand comes up along the chest and into the sky to that gentle twist. Gentle breaths here. And then eventually exhaling, coming back into the center. Inhaling flat back, exhaling, folding forward one last time. Just a few breaths here. Taking the hands to the hips, slightly bending the legs, and on the next inhale, coming up to standing. Heels point in, toes point out. Arms come next to us, straight towards the sides of the room. And we just bow down into that goddess pose, so knees are just gently bent. And this time, the left arm scoops under the right arm and either just comes into a gentle twist like that or twists all the way around and finds the other palm. And if this feels good, bringing the hands up and past the face. Deep breaths here as we open into the back of the chest. Really lovely. Just coming out of the pose whenever you need to, if it's too much on the legs or if you've got any knee issues. A few more breaths here, bringing a lot of heat to the practice today. Hands come wide, open into the chest. Straighten the legs for a moment, hands to the hips. And this time we're going to go over into our Skandasana on the left side. So again, just choose your method, whatever feels best. And slowly start to bend into that left leg. Coming down, maybe using the floor as support. So we travel into that side squat and the right toes point up towards the sky. That's lovely. Maybe taking the balance here, hands to the heart center. So a few breaths here. And then moving around into that low lunge position. So the left leg is on the ground behind us. Taking the right hand to the floor and on the next inhale, straightening up into the sky with the left hand. Deep breaths into this gentle twist. And either staying here or seeing if your back foot's available to catch. And just starting to move that foot into the body. Definitely an optional one, this position, because this can be quite hard on the knee if you've got any issues there. And we might not reach that foot. Deep breaths here. Really opening up into the chest, where a lot of that kapha accumulation comes. A few more breaths. And then releasing. That's lovely. Moving back into our last downward dog. And again, just walking our hands back to find the feet. Inhaling, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhaling, hands come up to the sky. Exhaling, hands to heart center. I'm going to try a couple of balances. So very similar shapes to the ones we were creating on the ground. Our starting point is putting our left foot onto the ground, really grounding into that left foot. Bringing the knee of the right foot up into the air and guiding it outwards with the right hand. Just into this lovely side balance, and this is a perfect position to be in. If you're super comfortable with that, you want to try something else, you can always see if you can clasp the big toe of the right foot, bringing it out in front of you for a few breaths before you start to see if you're able to take it out to the side. In this position, you might gaze in the opposite direction, or you might gaze forward because that just is quite hard. Nice deep breaths here. And maybe just playing with that pose, or if you want to, taking just a gentle twisted version. So if we've got the knee up in front of us, taking the left hand to the outer side of the right knee, and then moving the right hand back behind us into a gentle twist. And if we're really comfortable picking up the toe, We might want to try picking up the far side of the right foot with the left hand and holding the foot, straightening out through the leg and holding this twist. So wherever you've got to, just a few breaths there. Then coming down to the ground, having a little shake before we attempt the other side. So again, same process. So you might just ground your foot into the floor, your right foot, and bring the left knee up, gently guiding it towards the side of the room. If you want an alternative, grabbing the left toe, pushing through with the foot so the leg is straight, a few breaths in front, and then maybe spinning round so the left is towards the left side. Deep breaths. And then either just practicing with that or trying a twisted version where we're taking the knee up, the right hand comes to the far side of the knee, and the left hand comes out behind you. Or if you're feeling adventurous, grabbing the far side of the left foot and taking that into a twisted version. Wherever you've got to, just staying there for a couple of breaths before coming back to the ground. Having a little shake. It was really fantastic. Really good job. Inhaling, hands to the sky. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, flat back. Exhaling, coming into a plank position. Last bit of slightly more challenging work here. So again, you can also just be in the tabletop at this point. So from your plank, bringing the right foot up into the air, and it comes up and round and over the left foot. We then support ourselves with that right foot as we move up through the chest. Right hand comes to the ceiling, towards the ceiling, and then over into a gentle wild thing position where we're opening up into the chest. This can be a really challenging pose, so just stay there for just a few moments. Coming back into the plank position, same on the other side. Maybe we have a mini break in between the knees on the floor. Back up into the plank, left foot comes up and over the right foot. Supports our body with the floor behind it as we raise the left hand up into the sky and then up and over, opening into the chest into a wild thing position. Few moments. And then exhaling back into the plank, dropping the knees down, touching the big toes together. Knees come spade out to the side of the mat as we sink down into our child's pose. So head comes onto a cushion or onto the ground. Hands are just out in front of us. That's lovely. Just staying there for several breaths. Just cooling off. Went into quite a fiery place through that class. Now we're just gently cooling the body down. Everything's enlivened, everything's awakened. Probably for hungry for your dinner soon. Nice deep breaths as we just slow everything down now. And slowly crawl yourself up, taking the legs out in front of you, a gentle forward fold, just not putting too much energy into it, just slowly sliding forward and just staying there. If you feel like you really want to have a bit more of a stretch, coming closer to your feet or wherever your hands touch, you might keep your legs a little bit wider, you might take them together, whatever feels good. Just stretching One last time into the back of the legs. And then gently rolling up. One last pose. Sorry, we're running a tiny bit over, so do feel free to leave. We've got one last pose before our rest. Now, the first version of this pose is simply to take the left leg out in front of us, and then taking the right leg over the left leg and round to the point where the knees are on top of each other. So this is a really good position to be in. Just staying there is absolutely fine. Or the full expression of the pose, we'd then scoop the left leg round just next to the bum. So feet on either side, knees are sort of stacked in the middle. But just do whatever you can. If that is all just too much, you can take that left leg and just have a gentle twist. So keeping the right foot on the floor, just on the outer side of the left leg. So wherever you get to here, in this cow face position, then taking the right arm up and over the head, behind the neck, and the left hand comes below and then up, seeing if you can clasp the hands together, or probably just find a space where they come slightly near to each other. So I'll just show you what that looks like. In the back, we're doing this kind of position. You might clasp them together, or you might just have them apart like that. And just breathing into that in your cow face pose for a few breaths. Just one last open of the chest, and we've opened the hips a lot today, so now we're just closing the hips. When you feel happy, and if you're in the full cow face position, you can try something fun with me if you like, and you can pull your body up and swivel around on your feet. So maybe watch me first. You're just going to come towards your left hand side, swivel, 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 and find the pose with the opposite legs as we take a seat again. If that seemed really ridiculous, you can just take yourself out of the pose gently, take the right leg out in front of you, pop the left leg over the right leg, maybe so the knees are in line or just wherever you get to, and staying here or scooping that right leg under so the feet are towards the sides, the knees are stacked in the middle. It's lovely. And this time taking the left hand up and over the head, behind the neck, bending the elbow. The right hand comes under and up, seeing if you can clasp the hands together or just get them anywhere near each other at all. Deep breaths here as we do this last chest opener. You're really, really well today. Really hard postures. Lots of fire generated. Really good for this time of the year, clearing the body out. A few more breaths here. These are areas of the legs in this pose that often don't get touched very often. So this pose can be really challenging if you're new to it, and yoga in general. It's a really, really good one for working into the glutes, the sides of the legs, the sides of the thighs that often don't get a look in. And slowly just folding yourself out of that pose and just getting yourself into your Shavasana. About time. Just whatever's the most comfortable laying down position for you. Maybe placing a folded up blanket under the lower back or under the head if that feels good. Whatever feels good for you, just in your nice Shavasana position. Maybe putting your socks back on if that's going to be useful. That's lovely. Really nice work today. And just gently, just lying there, starting to just notice the breath again. Where's it gone? Just bringing it back into the body, filling up
the ribs, filling up the stomach. Just gently resting here, maybe taking a few outward breaths through the mouth. Just releasing. That's lovely, really, really nice. And then just coming into a natural breath. And either just taking a real lovely rest, just some time out, going into your own world for a bit, or just gently listening to my guide. Sorry. Just collapsing into the ground, relaxing the shoulders. Starting to just think about the element of earth and the element of water and what position they have in your life. During this time of the year, they come in to the body, they come into the mind, they come into the atmosphere more than at other times. And they stay there until the spring, when they start to gently leave and sometimes can cause some irritation in the form of things like hay fever on the way out. And we get illnesses like hay fever and other irritations at that time of the year as the fire meets the earth and the water, the fire of pitta. Now, if we have a lot of kapha accumulation through the winter, we might suffer from this a little bit more. So it's really, really good at this time of the year to just notice any accumulation that's happening, any stagnation in the body, just getting things moving quite regularly, getting things heated up. That's why our yoga practice is quite strong at this time of the year. Opening the chest, that area of a lot of kapha stagnation, which we'll keep doing in each class. Just alleviating any water retention from the legs by coming into positions where the head or the legs are below the heart. Down dog, for example, is a nice one, and all the balances that we did today. Strengthening and stretching out through the side body, through the back of the legs, really helps to alleviate all of these things. And if we keep moving in this way, then we can take out a little bit of the kapha excess, will hopefully make our spring a little bit easier transition. In our diet, we can start to reduce things like dairy products at this time of the year, which are very heavy in kapha qualities and can cause a lot of blockage. We can have slightly lighter meals. Definitely everything should be cooked, not having any raw food, but just going for lots of cooked green vegetables, bitter foods, slightly astringent foods, some pungency. Nice herbs like cumin and coriander, nutmeg, cardamom, fennel seed, black pepper, cinnamon, ginger. These are really useful this time of year. Having gaps in between our meals, where we can have a break, where our body can re-engage while our digestion's a little bit slower naturally at this time of year. Staying away from very dense wet foods such as bananas and peanuts. Just leaning into lighter qualities, but also really appreciating kapha this time of year, really appreciating what kapha does for us, grounding us, helping us rest. This is a naturally restful time, so it's really good to take that on board as well. It's really good to have a bit of a slower life at this time of year. You might lack motivation, and that's for a good reason. It's the time to slow down and have gentleness. Keeping the accumulation at bay by some quick, vigorous movements now and then, but lots of gentleness and rest and inward looking at this time of year is also really appreciated by the body as we rest and repair. Starting to take our attention back into the body. And to wiggle the fingers a little bit, wiggle the toes. Moving the wrists around a little bit, playing with those. Playing with the ankles. Starting to shuffle the legs around. Maybe taking a big stretch through the fingertips and the tiptoes. And then just gently and slowly gathering yourself, coming to the side of the body that feels comfortable, and slowly and gently coming up to a seat. When you found your seat, rubbing your hands together, creating some last heat. Placing the hands on the eyes, inhaling all that heat energy. Rubbing the hands together, a bit more heat, and rubbing them all over the head, all over the neck, the face, the body, the legs, and to the feet. And you're just massaging the legs, massaging the feet, just moving the hands across the body, just giving it a little squeeze. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evenings.